FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Now, you know, today we're putting the spotlight on something that affects every single one of us. And I'm talking about the canker of Galamsey. Now, it's not just a distant issue that is happening in the forests and in the rivers that we might never see. For some of us, we're in Accra. We don't see some of the destruction that is going on unless we turn on our televisions or we go to social media. I'm telling you this morning, it's not just a distant issue happening in the forests and in, the parts of the country that we don't see. It is right here. It's in the water that we drink. It's in the food that we eat. It's in the air that we breathe. Our land is being ravaged, our rivers poisoned, and yet we wonder why there is silence. Today we do this in tandem with you. Be sure to give us a follow on the socials. You can find us on Facebook. We're on X, also on Instagram. The hashtag that we're using this morning, it is hashtag 3FM Sunrise. We want to hear all of your thoughts, all of your comments, all of your suggestions. They're absolutely welcome this morning. Organized Labour has given an ultimatum to government to put a halt to all small-scale mining. Otherwise, they say, we're going to see a showdown of epic proportions come the end of September. Let's take a listen, though, to what Organized Labour had to say exactly. Organized Labour says nationwide strikes will commence if illegal mining concerns are not addressed. Take a listen.
Levels, and we're also told that the acceptable range, as mentioned by the Ghana Water Corporation, of the level of, if you like, pollution or disturbance within the water body is within 2,000, now escalated to 14,000, which is about 600% increase. This is very alarming. Having considered all of this, Organized Labour today decided that one, an immediate declaration of state of emergency in line with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, Article 31, the declaration must incorporate the following. A, an order to halt all forms of mining, legal or illegal, in forest reserves and around water bodies. Immediate evacuation of all mining equipment in forest reserves and around water bodies. C, the deployment of police and military with full orders to remove, destroy all mining equipment and other earth-moving equipment around river bodies and in the forest reserve. 2, the immediate revocation of LI 2462 and the withdrawal of all licenses that have been granted for prospecting in mining in forest and protected reserves and also around water bodies. Establish a special court to prosecute the perpetrators of this horrible crime. Now, this is our firm and resolute position that Organized Labour would urgently embark on series of demonstrations and a nationwide strike if government fails to address the concerns raised by end of September 2024. Now, we call on all well-meaning Ghanaians to join Organized Labour and your good self to ensure that this becomes a thing of the past.
To ensure that this becomes a thing of the past. Kenneth Kumsin of the Ghana Federation of Labour. Well, the Ghana Catholic bishops was not left out of this conversation. Let's take a listen to what was said yesterday.
Protection laws, their enforcement has been weak and inconsistent. Corruption, complicity of political leaders, some chiefs, and a lack of political will have further exacerbated the problem, allowing illegal mining to thrive unchecked. We wish to state that Ghanaians can no longer tolerate the lip service of government of whatever color in the fight against Galamsey. And We call for action not tomorrow, but now, and right from this press conference. And all hands must get on board.
And all hands must get on board. Most Reverend Matthew Jemfi of the Ghana Catholic Bishops also weighing in on that conversation. Yesterday as well, adding to the calls, TUC also wants an immediate ban on mining. Take a listen to Thomas Musa Tanko, very passionate indeed, adding to the calls of organized labor, adding to the calls of all of us, in fact.
For water. And those who also come to school, they are suffering from cancers, among other things. Are we waiting for all of us to die before you know that there is something happening? The Constitution provides clearly that when the lives of the people are threatened, and also in the interest of national security, you need to declare a state of emergency. That is what we are talking about. We are talking about the pollution of the water. Look, in any case, we are talking about here about school feeding. The question is, the children that have gotten that the cancers and all that, and those who are having those brain problems, that the nutritious meal that the government is providing, can that cure those challenges? How can state-sponsored irresponsibility create problems for children? Then we tell the children that when you come, we'll give you one nutritious meal. In any case, how can the children then even come to school? Please, my brother Alfred, what we are saying is that this matter is not a ministerial matter. This matter is not an MP matter. It was His Excellency, our own president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who put his presidency on the line. And we are saying...
Well, what also does the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, the NCCE, Ms. Kathleen Addy, have to say about the canker of Galamsey? Take a listen to this.
Absolutely be banned. And government has the power. They are the elected representatives of the people. They have the power to do that. Galamsey is not something that started today. So in order to avoid politicizing, we want to say that the people who have led the Fourth Republic should make a commitment. We are in election season. You understand? People are looking for votes. Let us tie our votes to a commitment, a clear commitment, not two-sidedness, not saying one thing and then saying another thing elsewhere. We want to hear commitments from those seeking power, that they are committed to the fight and they are willing to take actions against it. We want to hear that clearly. I think we haven't heard that clearly, and that is a great source of concern for all of us. So yes, Galamsey can be banned. We can come up with alternative solutions. Mining is not necessarily a bad thing. We can have mining going on. It's been going on for over 500 years in this part of the world. So mining is not necessarily a bad thing. It is the way in which we are doing it. The willful poisoning of water bodies, the destruction of forests, now forest reserves as well, is what the concern is about. And those activities are illegal activities, and illegal activities must be dealt with accordingly. So yes, Galamsey as an illegal activity can and should be banned. In fact, what is the meaning of a ban? It's illegal. We must take the necessary actions that you take against illegal activities. When there's a crime, we don't say that the crime should be banned. This is criminal. Galamsey is criminal. So stop the criminal activity. So that's what it is.
Stop the criminal activity, chairperson of the NCCE, Ms. Kathleen Addy there, saying that let us vote as clear commitment to fighting illegal mining. What does the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources have to say about this? There was a press release issued yesterday, Wednesday, 11th September 2024. It reads as follows. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel A. Jinapor MP, together with officials of the ministry, held extensive engagements with regional ministers to review our ongoing efforts at dealing with the canker of illegal small-scale mining. The meeting adopted additional measures at tackling the age-old national problem of illegal small-scale mining, aka Galamsey. Through a comprehensive approach, government will continue with a dual strategy of reformative measures and strict enforcement. The regional ministers, alongside their respective regional security councils, RECSEC, have been mandated to intensify enforcement actions within their various jurisdictions to contain incidents of illegal small-scale mining. Additionally, the Minerals Commission will enhance our reformative efforts, particularly through ramping up the establishment of responsible and legal community mining schemes which have regard to the preservation of our nation's environment and landscape. Government remains steadfast and committed to continue to restore order and ensure that mining activities are conducted sustainably and legally in the national interest. We entreat all and sundry to support these efforts to enable us protect our environment, preserve our water bodies, and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. While government warmly welcomes the heightened interest in this all-important national issue, we urge the discourse to be devoid of partisanship so as to enable us galvanize the needed national and collective support to root out this canker.
Action gun is 40,000 Ghana cedis. Boys, women, chemicals are with leukemia, cancers, kidney and liver failures. Obi University uchi taxi. No per taxi and go university. Asia them go on munim the radio my greedy people. Look at what greedy people are doing. Oko is so jeni omobe two. The music bush am bush. Me ora me kura me nseso. One fan adam kwasi adeba me se ube government.
And the clergy, pastors, all of you still on this crusade to stop Galamsey. Well, today, of course, we do this in tandem with you. Keep connecting with us on the socials. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, also on X. The hashtag we're using, it is hashtag 3FM Sunrise. You'll notice the hashtag Ban Galamsey gaining traction, trending on the socials this morning, and it is for good reason.
The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on 3FM. Sunrise on 3FM. The best in the morning.
And I take you back to some of the demands by CSOs on the issue of Galamsey. Here are some of the demands. A declaration of a state of emergency, abrogation of concessions overlapping river buffers, abrogation of entry permits allowing access to globally significant biodiversity areas, that's GSBAs, repeal of law allowing mining in forest reserves, and presidential candidates should publicly declare their support for this crisis response. And you heard that from Chairperson of the NCCE, Ms. Kathleen Addy, also reiterating that point. But again, I read for you the presser that came from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Yesterday, the Minister, Honorable Samuel A. Jinapo, also met with senior journalists and editors. He was responding to the calls for a declaration of a state of emergency. Let's hear it, as we say, from the horse's own mouth.
The comments and interventions of TUC, UTAC, professional bodies, unions, journalists, and Ghanaians are not to be dismissed. That's why I think we should begin from. We should listen to them, and those are views that they have analyzed and put forward, and I intend to engage various professional bodies, including TUCs. And I believe through that, we may be able to polish our policy and our approach in dealing with this matter. And we will do so. Now, forest reserves. Small-scale mining is not permitted in forest reserves. So the question about illegal small-scale mining in forest reserves, I think it is more about having the rights mechanism to prevent such illegalities in our forest reserves. The law doesn't permit small-scale mining in forest reserves. Declare a state of emergency that is within the bosom of the president, but I find that to be a far-reaching, really, a very draconian measure to take. And so we will engage them, and we will have this conversation. And I believe out of that, we may be able to come up with some consensus which we can work with.
Honorable Samuel Jinapo speaking about some of the demands being made by CSOs and all of us. In particular, he reacted to the comment about a declaration of a state of emergency. The minister says this is draconian and this is far-reaching. He also addressed the issue of small-scale mining happening in forest reserves. To that, he says small-scale mining is not allowed in forest reserves, and that isn't even a conversation. I played for you earlier this morning, my colleague Alfred Okansey in the Etiwa forest. If you've had a chance to see those visuals, he was in the forest and there was certainly small-scale mining going on. But do take a listen.
This is the chamfa which crushes the stones.
See them sell out, greedy life, them sell a lie. The truth they will always try to.
Press releases, they were pouring in yesterday, thick and fast. 6-2's Don Ulo, producer of 3FM Sunrise, is back in the hot seat. Not too hot for him, though. He's always very comfortable in this seat. So, 6-2's, yesterday we saw an influx of statements, press releases from different organizations, from different bodies, and this cuts across. I've played you some sound clips there from the Catholic bishops, conference, from clergymen and so on and so forth, leadership in organized labor, a very passionate Thomas Musa Tanko. They're talking about students, and he enumerated a number of issues, and I don't even think that we have begun to even look at it on the side of education. Children who no longer go to school because it is more profitable for them to spend their days and nights in the Galamsey pits. Children who now have to forfeit their school time to go in search of potable water. Children who now have brain issues. He's talking about cancers. He's talking about children yet to be born and what type of future we're leaving for them. Let's get into some of these press statements and exactly what these organizations and bodies want from leadership.
So since you ended with the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, let me pick this one also.
Okay.
From the, it says that the Apostolic Fathers of Ghana, signed by His Eminence Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, on behalf of a host of men and women of God. There's Bishop Dr. Gideon Titi of Reverend Bob Asari. There's Archbishop Charles Ajin Asari, Bishop Dakiwat Mills. There's Apostle General Sam Kranche Ankra, Bishop N.A. Takia Boy Iswutanaba, Reverend Dr. Robert Ampia Kofi, Reverend Steve Mensah, Bishop Gordon Kisie, Bishop Victor Se, Bishop Dr. Opong Edu Jemfi, Bishop Dr. Samuel N. Mensah, Reverend Dr. Ebenezer Makwe, Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete, Reverend Dr. Ezekwe Wright, Reverend Dr. Nyani Bwedun, and Reverend Dr. Seth Ablo. So these are all, and their respective churches have actually been mentioned.
Okay.
But these are names that we know and faces that we know. We have listened to them Some of us have taken a lot of inspiration from some of them over the years. And they've also written, call for a temporary ban on small-scale gold mining Galamsey in Ghana by the Apostolic Fathers of Ghana. The Apostolic Fathers of Ghana, comprising mostly the pioneering leaders of the charismatic movement in Ghana, have noted with deep concern the alarming escalation of illegal gold mining, commonly known as Galamsey, which has ravaged our nation. This illegal activity not only threatens our environment, but also undermines the livelihoods and health of countless Ghanaians, especially those in rural areas who rely on the land and water for survival. Extensive research has revealed that Galamsey has resulted in the pollution of rivers and streams, deforestation, and the destruction of farmlands. This has not only made drinking water unsafe, but has also rendered fertile lands unuseful for farming. And the consequences are far-reaching, and if left unchecked, will lead to environmental disaster, food insecurity, and health crisis across our beloved nation. So let's mark the three: environmental disaster, food insecurity, and health crisis. We, the Apostolic Fathers of Ghana, are calling on all politicians, traditional leaders, and foreign nationals involved in this illegal mining practice to immediately stop these harmful activities. We urge you to embrace the long-term interest of the nation and future generations rather than pursuing short-term personal gains. At the same time, we strongly condemn those in positions of influence who have turned a blind eye to this grave issue, driven by selfish interest and personal gain. We urge such individuals to reflect on their actions and consider the long-term consequences and their inaction will have on the environment and the people they are meant to serve. Ghana cannot afford to let greed eclipse the well-being of its citizens. Our love for Ghana compels us to act. The beauty and prosperity of our nation are rooted in the land that God has blessed us with, and it is our collective responsibility to protect it. We must show love for our country and our fellow citizens by safeguarding the land that sustains us. If we truly love Ghana, we will not destroy it for selfish gain. Illegal mining is destroying what God has entrusted to us, and this violation must stop if we are to preserve the blessings of this nation for future generation. Let me jump to this. We are calling for a temporary ban on all forms of small-scale mining activities in the country while we look for a permanent solution to this menace. I take that direct quote. We are calling for a temporary ban on all forms of small-scale mining activities in the country while we look for a permanent solution to this menace. Moreover, we invite the moral leaders of our nation, clergy, and all who hold positions of spiritual or moral authority to rise and decry this environmental catastrophe. Let your voices be heard, echoing the urgency to preserve God's creation and stand against the forces that seek to destroy it. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those who are being crushed. And that's a quotation, Proverbs 31, verse 8. We also call on such institutions as the Water Resources Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce stricter regulations and ensure that the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703 is upheld. It is essential that these bodies fulfill their mandate of protecting our natural resources and holding accountable those who engage in illegal mining activity. In addition, civil society organizations, environmental groups, and other stakeholders must intensify their advocacy efforts. As defenders of the marginalized and the voiceless, CSOs must continue to hold accountable those responsible for this destruction while educating and mobilizing communities to protect their environment. We commend the media, especially the bold and courageous journalists and individuals who have risked their lives to expose the devastating truth of Galamsey. These brave men and women have been our eyes and ears, shedding light on a crisis that some in power have chosen to ignore. Their work is invaluable to the survival of our environment and the future of our nation. And goes on to bless us all. It ends by saying that together we can protect our land and ensure that Ghana's resources are preserved for generations to come. Like I said, signed by His Eminence Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. And let me repeat, for me, the most important paragraph. We are calling for a temporary ban on all forms of small-scale mining activities in the country while we look for a permanent solution to this menace. Again, we also call on institutions such as the Water Resources Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce stricter regulations and ensure that the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, is upheld. So that is the message from the fathers, the Apostolic Fathers of Ghana. Well, it's not a body that we know, but these are, as they describe this, they said it in their description, said it comprising mostly pioneering leaders of the charismatic movement in Ghana. So all the names that I have mentioned, Duncan Williams, Action Chapel, Charles Ajinasari, Perez Chapel, Dakiwad Mills, United Denominations, that's Lighthouse Group of Churches, Apostle General Sam Kranche Ankara, Royal House Chapel, Bishop Takia Boy, Victory Bible Church, Eastwood Anaba, Reverend Eastwood Anaba, Fountain Gate Chapel, Global Revival Ministries led by Reverend Dr. Robert Ampia Kofi, and a host of others. Yeah, they put this together.
Okay.
But there's another one too from the Ghana Association of University Administrators.
Okay. So that joins in the call. So far, I'm tabulating some of the releases. We've got PUWU of the TUC, Public Utilities Workers Union. Also, Media Coalition Against Galamsey, haven't been at the forefront, still at the forefront of this fight with renewed vim. Also, Mazda 6 was there. Mass Action for Sustainable Development in Africa. They've also issued a presser. Not the car Mazda. This is a different Mazda. You also say there's another one from...
So this one is Ghana Association of University Administrators. That is what I am here to read. And the one I just read is the Apostolic Fathers of Ghana. Now, this one, the University Administrators, their statement reads, the Ghana Association of University Administrators calls on the government, the regulatory bodies, and metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to improve on their supervisory functions and insist on responsible mining practices by those granted mining licenses, leases, and concessions, and ban all forms of illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey, to safeguard the nation's environment and livelihoods. The escalating prevalence of Galamsey poses severe threats to our nation's environment, public health, and long-term economic prospects. They have also mentioned three important things: the nation's environment, public health, and long-term economic prospects. But their call is slightly different. Their call is to ban all forms of illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey. So the church's own I read before this is calling for a ban on all forms of mining, right? Small-scale mining. This one is calling for a ban on all forms of illegal mining, commonly called Galamsey. And then they go on to talk about the threats that are posed, impact on water supply to higher education institutions. Let me read that particular paragraph. It says water supply to most of our tertiary institutions has been disrupted, with some campuses going several weeks without running water supply. Ghana Water Company has reported a 50% loss of treated water, directly affecting educational institutions and their students. Academic activities, as well as our university health facilities, risk deterioration due to the lack of potable water. These are serious implications for our students and staff working in such conditions with contaminated water and a lack of potable water. These issues not only hinder the teaching and learning processes, but also create a stressful environment for university administrators and professionals. Now, here's the demands that they are making. Considering these pressing concerns, the association, the acronym is so difficult to pronounce.
Right, okay.
Unequivocally demand responsible mining practices by those given mining licenses and a ban on all forms of illegal mining to safeguard lives and ensure the uninterrupted functioning and livelihoods of our university campuses. We strongly condemn the lukewarm response of state agencies tasked with combating this menace. The law should bite every person involved in reckless and irresponsible mining practices, irrespective of status, political affiliation, nationality, or ethnicity. Their call to action is to join forces of reasoning and pledge their involvement in the collective resolve to protect our environment and ensure a safe and sustainable future. It is signed by the National President Michael Owusu-Ansah and General Secretary Augustine Emissary. Okay, I think so.
So those are the demands.
Those are the demands.
Demands.
So we would then have to take note of the differences in posturing, which is a reason why we need to have a national conversation on this, and not just to say. So in a way, I would agree with the statement that is issued by the ministry that we shouldn't rush into the decision. Yes, we are all angry. Yes, we all want immediate action. But we need to, first of all, kickstart with a national conversation. And that should involve all the stakeholders. Because some are calling for immediate ban on all. In fact, as for the ban, we all want it immediate, right? But some are asking for a ban on illegal mining activities. Others are calling for a ban on all small-scale mining activities. So, as we discussed in the morning, the Small Scale Miners Association would have to be involved. All the other stakeholders, the Minerals Commission, the Ministry, Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, the CSOs.
Everybody. So Ghana Water Company would have to be involved. The Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, Lands Commission, Forestry Commission, Environmental Protection Agency, Water Resources Commission, and of course the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And I'm sure there are others that will have to come to the table. If you listen to what CSOs are asking for, and I've tabulated that before, but just to run us through, the CSOs are asking for a declaration of a state of emergency, abrogation of concessions overlapping river buffers, abrogation of entry permits allowing access to globally significant biodiversity areas, repeal of law allowing mining in Forest Reserve 6. That has also become highly topical, this
I don't know how we even got there in the first place.
And in fact, the minority has been roped into this because this was passed in the House of Parliament. So
Yes.
for those who say this is certainly not a partisan issue or shouldn't be, because our members of Parliament went into the House of Parliament, and once it's passed in the House of Parliament, it's passed in the House of Parliament by all. And finally, presidential candidates should publicly declare their total support for this crisis response. I also played for you.
No, in fact, before you go on, I think that this election should be made a Galamsey issue. You see, before we get into the December election, before we get to December 7th, we should be able to change the campaign issues, tease out the various policies as they affect our environment, with particular focus on mining.
Absolutely.
On
So
mining.
what Kathleen Addy said as I played for us earlier is absolutely apt. She's asking that we actually listen to those who want to take over power, what they have in store. But Six, permit me just once again to play for us all what the response of the ministry was, and then we'll come back quickly. It's about a minute. Take a listen.
The comments and interventions of TUC, UTAC, professional bodies, unions, journalists, and Ghanaians are not to be dismissed. That's where I think we should begin from. We should listen to them, and those are views that they have analyzed and put forward, and I intend to engage various professional bodies, including TUCs. And I believe through that, we may be able to polish our policy and our approach in dealing with this matter. And we will do so. Now, forest reserves. Small-scale mining is not permitted in forest reserves. So the question about illegal small-scale mining in forest reserves, I think it is more about having the right mechanism to prevent such illegalities in our forest reserves. The law doesn't permit small-scale mining in forest reserves. Declare a state of emergency that is within the bosom of the president, but I find that to be a far-reaching, really, a very draconian measure to take.
The minister says far-reaching and draconian, the calls for there to be a ban. He says that we are going to have to review, I'm quoting him here directly today, and I'm 1,000% certain that we're going to we're going to ramp up our enforcement measures. So all these places that you are talking about are going to have a cleanup there. He was addressing senior journalists, I don't know why I wasn't there, and also editors, but that's neither here nor there. You've heard it from the horse's own mouth.
See, it doesn't also mean that the ministry should be slow to act. What it means is that we need that the processes kickstart right away. It's not, we are not now coming to start talking about scientists that will go through this mill, and by the time I realize a month is gone, and so
this new committee that has been set up, is this needless? We've had countless committees. So the minister says he's setting up a new committee.
For me, it is needless. Let's go straight away to call a national conversation. We can have a national conference on the stakeholder engagement on this. Bring all the stakeholders together. We all agree that it's a problem. We are not coming to identify the problem. We've already identified the problem. How do we tackle the problem? If we say we are banning, putting a temporary ban on all forms of small-scale mining, it means that some legal small-scale miners will be affected. Are they willing to make some concessions on this? How can we collectively look at a solution to the problem so that families don't also suffer? We have to consider that one too. So it's not like, yes, we are suffering, so we should just close our eyes and act. But we don't need a committee. A committee will need how many months to discuss the issues and come back to tell us what we already know? I mean, we don't need that.
We're still waiting for action on the lead Kokonsa IGBT. Remember, the deadline was last September 2023. We see what happens when committees and probes and the like are set up. It's a throwback Thursday. Let me take you back in time to what the president had to say about Galamsey.
I took the decision that would be a betrayal of the trust that the Ghanaian people put in me on the 7th of January this year. And as a result, we established this committee within the government